Good evening, young Padawans and Padawans. We are back, my friends. Yes. 2 Ewoks in the park has returned. Tonight it is me and the geek, Sully. And we are going to sit down and start reviewing the new show from the Star Wars known as Skeleton Crew. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're doing episode 1 tonight. So do me a favor. Go grab yourself your favorite drink or adult beverage, or whatever it is you want, something to munch on. Sit back in that beanbag chair and have some fun with us, because it's going to be a ride. Sully, it's all yours.
Oh, why, thank you, sir. Hello, everybody, and welcome to 2 Ewoks in the Park. Yes, we're back. I know it's weird. It's on a Wednesday. It's crazy. I apologize for it being on a Wednesday, but it is what it is. We have to. Because, man, Disney is just messing with us.
What would make you say that?
Well, let's see. The fact that, I don't know. We had to have a little situation where, the first 2 episodes came out on a Monday.
Right? And they've never done that before. Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and I think we even had one on Thursdays.
And the problem with that becomes the fact that the next episode, which would be 3, comes out on Tuesday.
Yeah.
And then it comes out on Tuesday every week after that.
Yes, for the next 6 episodes.
So... yeah. Thanks.
WTF, Disney and Star Wars.
Yeah.
WTF.
Well, mostly Disney, but yeah.
Yeah.
You get.
But I got to include both.
You get the idea. You get the idea. It is what it is. Nothing we can do about it, that's for sure. And it's all good. It's all good in the hood. But yes, I did send you the link for our little bit of show prep.
Well, it's funny because I have a picture sitting here that I can't get rid of to get to my chat.
What do you mean?
There's a picture of the 2 girls on the bike.
Uh-huh.
Superseded over the top of my Discord.
So take your mouse and click outside the picture.
Which I have already done. Oh, yeah, now it freaking works.
And then click the actual link.
Okay, I'm pissed because I did that. I clicked everywhere and it wouldn't go.
Here's the look on JT's face when he's frustrated when technology is not working for him 2 days in a row.
Oh, God. Let us not talk about last night. Oh, I was ready to kill someone last night.
Oh, I'm sure.
Put it this way, Kay ran away scared.
Oh, boy. Never a good thing.
Kay's like, screw this, I'm out of here.
Never a good thing. Never a good thing.
Yeah, it was.
All right.
I will say this. The show was great last night. I was in a great mood by the time we were done with the show last night.
It was a great show. It really was.
Fun. It was fun.
And we're going to have just as fun tonight as we break down episode 1 of Skeleton Crew. Now, the cool thing about this show, and JT and I were talking about it right before we went live, and we had to actually stop talking about it because if we continued... it could have been like the whole show and we would never have been live.
Right.
So lo and behold, the cool thing, and I'm sure you'll be able to vouch for me on this one, is I was getting a Goonies vibe.
Yeah.
From this episode.
Yeah. The classic kind of lost group of lost kids, you know, the misfits and the outcasts and that kind of thing. The classic misfits adventure with a little bit of the Breakfast Club.
Yes.
Sprinkled in there.
Like old school.
Which was really weird.
Old school 80s.
Yes, exactly.
You know, here we are. We're going to have some fun, that type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
And I like that.
And like I told you before we came on, and it was what we actually had to stop talking about, is a show, no matter what, whether it's a movie or a TV show or whatever, a show where you identify with, and not just identify with, but feel like the character is exactly like you.
Yes.
Automatically makes it 1,000 times better.
Oh, hands down.
And that's what happened with me in episode 1. I won't say which character I identify with. We'll see if listeners can figure it out. But everything this character did is exactly what I would have done in the same situation.
All right. I'll bite. Figure out which one you are. I'm going to say you're the main kid. You
mean that I do things on a whim?
Yeah, there it is. Ho ho. Ho ho ho. You nailed it right on the head with that one. Just saying. But yes, that is one of the main characters. Name's Wim.
Yes.
I'm in the process of fixing my webcam because apparently 2 Ewoks in the Park doesn't like me very much. So I have to reset my template. There we go. Make it a little smaller so you can see me. Yay! But the episode opens up with an interesting scroll, which doesn't really scroll, but it's got the blue letters of, you know, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. But in this case, it starts off with "since the fall of the Empire."
Which is an interesting phrase to start with because that automatically puts you in a time frame.
Yes. It sets the mood. Oops,
yes.
Wrong button. There we go. It sets the mood with where it takes place. Okay. And in this case, it's after the fall of the Empire. The Republic is now in control again. Yay. They're trying to maintain order. However, throughout the galaxy, there are voids. And what I mean by voids is you now have all of these different groups. And I'm not just talking like gangsters or you know, bounty hunters. They're around no matter what. But now they're trying to come into power because now the one thing that they're afraid of, which would be the Empire, is gone.
Yeah, so there's a void there.
There's a little bit of a void when it comes to the, I don't know, what would you say, power struggle?
Well, basically it is, because there's the void that was left when the Empire was destroyed.
Right.
And I mean, that's just like here, you know, in any country, if the person in charge is suddenly disappeared.
Yep.
Nice way of putting it.
They vanish.
There's that void.
Yes.
That has to be filled. So everybody wants to get into that position of power because power for a lot of people is everything.
everybody wants to rule the world.
Yes. And you were even on key for that one.
Which is a good thing. With that being said, the rest of the scroll clearly states that, the Republic's trying to maintain order. Everything's in chaos to begin with. We know it. A government fell and a new government is taking over. So yeah, there's going to be issues. All right. And we know this from The Mandalorian. We know this from Ahsoka. We know this from, what was the other one? Not the last one that just came out, but Andor, which, obviously Andor was before the fall of the Empire, but it's still that fall, and now they're in the recovery stages. Okay.
Right.
But the one thing that they don't really count on, aside from the gangsters and the different clans that are out there, is now you have pirates. Space pirates, to be exact, if you want to go and, Star Wars, it takes place in space most of the time. And they specifically say in the scroll that remote hyperspace routes. Now, if you don't remember anything from Star Wars, navigation computers have to calculate hyperspace, and they have to give you the specific coordinates, and that way, you don't go into an asteroid field, you don't crash into a planet, stuff like that, right?
Right.
So, and even then you can do planet jumping by going through hyperspace and causing chaos and almost blowing up your ship. Not recommended. But those hyperspace routes are now being taken over by pirates. They're hiding out there. And they're doing what normal pirates would do. Let's take over a ship. Let's destroy it. Let's pillage it. Let's take its people. Let's money. You name it. Okay? And they are branding their ships with their insignias to let everybody in the galaxy know, surrender or die.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
In the Star Wars universe, instead of the skull and crossbones, you get the surrender or die.
Yes. But
emblazoned on the side of their vessel.
Yes. Now, it opens up with such a scene. Because first, we see the camera pan down, we see a planet in the background, and we see clear space until we start seeing metal pieces just flying past the camera.
Right.
And then we see a freighter come into play, and whoa, holy crap.
It's a good-sized freighter.
That freighter looked like it got the shit kicked out of it.
Yeah, I mean, my thinking is it's a pretty old one.
Yeah.
It just looks more worn down than the Millennium Falcon is.
Yeah, and that's a pretty beat up ship.
Yeah.
Kessel Run in under 12 parsecs, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
But once and you can see, once the ship comes onto screen, you see like little fires inside the ship, lights are on, like you can see things burning.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see the flames. You can just see inside, like outside in, there's fire. Pieces are burning, And then we see this pirate ship just ram into it.
It's a shadow. Well, at first you have this shadow that comes over the ship.
It's like,
that's not a small freighter.
No, it's not.
That is not a small freighter by any form of the word.
No.
And all of a sudden, the shadow comes across that just covers the whole thing. And my first thought was, oh shit, whatever that is, it's huge.
Woo. It's a big ship.
And then, yeah.
It's a big ship. But you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of the beginning of A New Hope.
Mm-hmm.
With the Star Destroyer and the Corellian freighter from Alderaan.
Yep.
Now.
Right there with you.
Once the collision takes place, now there's 4 drills that go into the side. Kills a couple people when it does it, but they're basically transport tubes, because as soon as they crash in, they all open up and they've got clear passage running from one ship to the other to take it over. And now firefights are ensuing. Okay.
Right. Well, and the guys on the freighter did the right thing.
Run.
You know, in order to defend themselves, they did the right thing, and they set up to ambush the entries to the transfer tubes.
Absolutely.
Typical ambush. You know, it's what they call a pinch point.
Get behind the box.
You get them into a small area where they don't have a lot of room to move.
Yep.
And they can't go backwards.
Nope. They cannot go backwards.
Classic military tactics. All the way out in Star Wars days. They still exist.
Yeah. Well, you have to.
Yeah.
You have to. So as they're attacking the ship, basically, killing anybody who comes into their view, we start seeing waves of pirates literally infesting this ship. They're overpowering them. They're disarming them. They're kicking the crap out of them. Then we see pirates outside the ship taking care of...
that was cool.
That was really cool. Taking care of the turrets on the outside of the freighter by blowing them up.
One of the guns turned and shot one of the transfer tubes.
Yep.
And the next thing you know, you see 3 guys just go across their tethered. They just go across, stick explosives on it, dive off to the side, and boom, there goes the turret.
Like, woohoo!
But that was epic.
It was like Rocket Man.
Yeah. I mean, that was freaking epic.
Rocket Man!
Flying towards this gun with my explosives in my hand.
There you go. Well, then we see a pirate named Brutus. Now, Brutus.
The Black Wolf.
Yeah. Yeah. Very.
Well, let me clarify. The Black Wolf with blazing red eyes.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Gave me the creeps as soon as I saw it.
He's a big guy.
He's a mean sumbitch is what he is.
Big guy. Now, one of the things about Brutus, okay, is he's what's called a Shistavian. Okay? Actually, it's a Shistavaninen. Yes, I know. It's weird. Shistavanen. Okay? Clearly wolf-like.
Yeah.
But this was not his first appearance. No. Not his first appearance at all.
Interesting.
He has been in multiple Star Wars titles, including, but not limited to, Star Wars: A New Hope.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Yep. Now, I'm talking about the original theatrical release of A New Hope, also known as Star Wars. Okay.
Right.
Want to say hi to Sammy. He says, hope you're all doing great. We're doing fantastic.
Sammy!
Talking about Skeleton Crew. But he's also been in numerous books and comic books.
Okay.
So here is a great example of another character who, yes, was in the original Star Wars, but also in all these comics, and as a background character is now in the forefront. Clearly, he survived the Empire, and clearly some other things are going to happen. What those other things are, I don't know.
Who knows?
I don't know. But I think it's pretty cool that he was in Star Wars.
Yeah. Well, and like I was telling you, there was another character, and he was truly a background character that I felt I had seen in either other Star Wars series or in movie or something. I even thought, maybe it was from Guardians in the Galaxy or Guardians of the Galaxy.
Okay.
But I'm not sure. I want to go back and I'm going to rewatch it and get a picture of the guy and send it to you.
Okay.
But I feel like I've seen him before because I recognized him right. Hey, I know that guy.
You might have.
Or at least somebody, the same creature.
Yep.
Type thing,
But he's a big one.
Yes.
And he's one you don't want to mess with. He's
Yeah,
like
Brutus
Chewbacca.
is-
He'll rip your arms off if you don't let him
with
win.
his teeth. With his teeth.
Oh yeah. He'll rip them right off. He is actually, and I think, at least what I was getting out of it, is he's like the first mate. He controls the crew under the captain,
Yeah. He's the vice admiral of the ship.
Yeah.
He's the man that leads the assaults.
He's the one who let Captain Silvo know that the ship is secure. And as Silvo says, well, hey, great, thanks. Let's go get our reward. And they go to a vault. And they tell the captain, hey, we know stuff's in here. Open her up. And the captain's like, there's nothing here. We got nothing.
Well, and it was open it or die.
Yeah, open it or die. Open it up. Open it up. So he tells the crew, all right, throw him out the airlock.
Yeah, that's a crazy one.
Hey, a pirate's a pirate, man. That's almost like walking the plank.
Right?
The only difference is space.
Without the walking part.
So instead, what they do, since they can't open it, they use laser cutters to open up the vault. And once they do, Silvo goes on this wonderful rant. Actually, would you consider it a rant? I would think it would be more like a hurrah! Like we did it. That type
It was a pep talk.
Yeah.
Because he's like, times have been, a little sparse here as of late and blah, 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 and this, that. But this is the beginning of us coming back and being able to do the things that we want to do because of all the gold or chips or whatever the frick it is that's in this vault.
Yep. And when they kick it open, there's nothing.
Well, not nothing.
Well, let me rephrase that. There is 99% of nothing.
99.999999998.
There is
because there was one measly credit.
One.
Laying on the ground.
Republic
on the floor.
credit, by the way. Republic credit.
Yes.
And that's when the pirates decide to stage a mutiny and Silvo basically takes over.
No, Silvo was muted against.
No.
Brutus
Silvo was.
the
Brutus
one
took
that's
over.
watching.
Brutus took over.
Yeah.
Because he was the first mate.
They pulled the mutiny on Silvo.
Yes. Did I say it wrong?
And yeah, you said that
My apologies.
Silvo took over.
My apologies.
Yeah, Brutus took over. Silvo was the one that got the crap beat out of him.
Pretty much.
Yeah, and Brutus is just sitting there going.
Now, once that happens, now we are seeing a little human boy by the name of Wim.
Yes.
Now, this was cool. He was playing with a Jedi and Sith action figure. We have never seen action figures of the Jedi and Sith in Star Wars before. And to be honest, it looked like the old school Star Wars figures from Kenner.
I'm telling you.
Okay.
If you'd have done a close up of it, I would almost be willing to bet my monthly Social Security check that it is old fashioned Star Wars figures.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. And we were introduced to Wim and his father Wendell, single father, mother's not around, reminding his own son, okay, got to go to school. This right here, this scene right here reminds me of the old school 80s, 90s TV shows and movies.
It was
of
me and you as a kid.
Yeah. Don't be late for school. You got to go. Stop playing around. Make sure you do this.
Study.
Yeah, make sure you do this, make sure you do that. And even his father's like, listen, I'm going to be late at work this week. I've got reviews coming up. I have to do this and have to do that. This is your lunch money for the week. I will be this way all week. Don't be late.
Yep.
Don't be late. So then after his father leaves, he's playing around and eating breakfast still, but then he's rushing to school. And as he's rushing to school, first of all, I love that every single character in Star Wars has a name. Okay. I love that every single character in Star Wars has something to do with something.
Mm-hmm.
This is how well thought out these characters are, because I guarantee you 99.9% of the Star Wars characters all have some type of long-winded backstory that you never even knew about.
Even the labor droid who's pushing the lawnmower.
Yes.
That he runs by.
Yes. and if you think about it, this is the first time we see a planet that actually has a residential neighborhood.
With grass and trees.
Grass, trees, no desert.
Right.
Cars.
Mm-hmm.
Buses.
Yep.
It's crazy.
But they don't look like school buses, though.
No, they look like
regular buses.
They look like
Or tram cars is actually what they're called.
Yeah, tram cars, or the extended buses where you've got like that rubber section in the middle and it extends it a little bit more so you can go front to back without any issues. You know, it looks like a futuristic residential neighborhood.
Yep.
Even an Ithorian woman who has a pet frog dog.
Ribbit. Ribbit.
Wim meets up with his friend Neil. Neil looks like Max Rebo's kid. If you don't know who Max Rebo is, look him up. Looks like an elephant, a blue elephant. He's not, don't worry, but you know, he's there. And the two are best friends. You can see they're best friends. They decide to duel as Jedi or Sith or both because, you know, they love the Jedi. And they're basically just, they're kids being kids.
The space version of Cowboys and Indians.
Right? Which is awesome.
And now and that's, again, to my point of why I identify with these characters so much. Because it was me.
That was you growing up?
That was me growing up.
There you go.
100%.
Not only do we see that, but we also see other school children on the bus. And we also see an RX series pilot droid, which, JT, you have seen before.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen him in Bad Batch. We've seen him in The Mandalorian.
Mm-hmm.
For all you true Star Wars fans out there, you also have seen him in, I don't know, Disneyland and Disney World on Star Tours.
Nice.
That's right. That's right. So yes, JT, you have seen a character before.
Multiple
Yes.
characters.
Yes. Absolutely. RX-24, also known as Rex. You've seen him before.
Don't know that name.
Star
Know that
Tours.
name.
Star Tours. And now you can see him all throughout, the Galaxy's Edge at Disney World in so many different buildings, including some cantinas there. But he's driving the bus, which I thought was a great homage to Star Tours, having him in there. Right? And
Cool.
Wim and Neil are in the back of the bus. They're talking about mathematics. They're talking about school stuff. But Wim is kind of, off in his own little world, which makes sense. He's a kid. Okay.
Yeah.
We also see two other characters, two girls on a hover bike and a sidecar. And they go off the road and they do whatever they need to do. We see them disappear. But it's so cool because they do a little jump over a wall.
Little guardrail.
A little guardrail, nothing big. And they finally get to school. And it's just like a regular school. The only difference in this case is the droids are doing the teaching, which makes sense. Okay. The droids are going to have all the knowledge in their brains, in their, their hard drives, their memory banks.
They're all programmed.
They're all programmed to teach. And the first thing, and maybe you can vouch for me on this one, the first thing I thought of was when that teacher, that robot was just teaching them everything.
Mm-hmm.
It reminded me of Ben Stein and Ferris Bueller.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which again, 80s.
Mm-hmm. Oh, huge. I mean, throughout, huge 80s feel to this.
Yeah.
Which is cool because, those were, that's when I was growing up, was in the 80s, So, I truly identify with this stuff.
Now, the cool thing about this, and we're going to kind of sum things up a little bit with these next couple of scenes, because let's face it, if you've seen one school scene, you've seen them all.
Yeah.
Okay? Either some higher figure comes in. In this case, it was the undersecretary.
Yes.
I don't understand what the undersecretary really plays a role in, but you do as the episode goes along. She comes in to talk to the classroom about career assessment tests.
And Wim goes, "Oh, shit." Looks at Neil and goes, "Tomorrow?"
Certainly does. Now, according to this, the career assessment test is supposed to basically state where you're going to be in the New Republic.
What your role is going to be.
Yeah.
What your job is going to be.
Whether you're going to be a mechanic, a plumber, you're going to work on computers, rebuild droids, work on starships, that type of thing. Okay. And they do it at a young age.
Yeah.
Because in this case, doing it at a young age, now you know where you're going to be in school and what they're going to teach you.
Yes. Because and I think this is one of the cool things I think that they did, or that they portray happens in these days, is that once they know what your career path is going to be.
Yes.
That's what they call it, because the assessment to set up your career path. Mm-hmm. They teach you specifically towards that.
Yes.
Instead of just general education and then you going, "Oh, I'll do this," and go to college and drink for 4 years. Yeah.
Yes. But I mean, anything's possible.
You had to think about that awfully hard, Sully.
Well, I mean, you could just be a scoundrel like Han Solo.
That would work for me. I would work in that role.
Things that make you go,
Things that make you go, "Ooh, that looks like fun."
Yeah. Well, that just leads them to, obviously the undersecretary is walking by. She sees Wim doodling again, what kids do. But he's doodling by drawing Jedi, by the way. So they know all about the Jedi. They know all about the history of the Jedi and the Sith. They know everything is this and that. And, she's there to promote these career assessment tests to keep the Republic peaceful and strong. Those were the words she used. Peaceful and strong. There are people in this galaxy that don't agree with that. That's a whole nother ball game.
Right.
Whole nother ball game. Pirates. Well, from there, they go on to say, hey, how can they attribute or contribute to the society of the Republic? And of course, one classmate says, statistical accountant. These kids look like they're in what? 5th grade?
5th, 6th, somewhere around
Give or
there.
take. Statistical accountant.
Right.
Oy.
A
Analysts.
senior statistical accountant.
Yes, senior. I apologize. I forgot the senior. And then, of course, another boy is like, yeah, they need more analysts.
Okay. Well, the one kid says he wants to be one. Hey, I wanted to be an analyst. And of course, Undersecretary Farr is like, don't worry.
Chill
There's
out.
there's a large need for analysts.
Yes. And then, of course, there's system controllers, people who want to help people. And then, all this other good stuff throughout the galaxy.
And then she picks on Wim.
And then she goes after Wim. Yeah, poor Wim. Poor Wim. Because Wim just doesn't care. Wim is a carefree spirit who wants adventure and excitement. Which, by the way, a Jedi craves not these things.
Right.
Just putting it out there.
When he wants to help people.
But he does. He wants to help people like the Jedi.
Yeah.
And it's interesting how they kind of just mock him for it.
Yeah. Even the droid. Even the teacher droid.
Yep.
That's what safety droids are for.
Yep. Well, after class, we've got a couple of more characters that we see, one of which being Runa, who we saw in the classroom. And I'm making a mess of my desk. And Neil has a thing for Runa. Very, very open about that to Wim. And, and he admits that he's too shy for her. Makes sense.
I'm working up to it, I think, is the phrase that he
working
uses.
up to it. Working up to it. Well, after school, they're talking about the test as well. And, even Neil is like, dude, you got to study, man. What do you think we've been doing? But we also run into KB and Fern. KB and Fern were the two girls that we saw earlier on the hoverbike. And they're riding home, and the hoverbike breaks down.
Call it that.
It breaks down. Which sucks for them, but now you got to do repairs.
Mm-hmm.
Once it breaks down. Fern decides, all right, let's go. We got to walk. Wim and Neil are walking home together. They're just chilling out, talking. Wim watches Neil go home and sees his parents. He's got siblings.
Yeah.
And Wim, his dad's not home. His dad's working.
Let's begin.
Yeah. We see
Without the
we see that KB and Fern, with the bikes being broken down, we see a boy named Bonge Falfa, kind of like alfalfa.
Yeah.
Bonge Falfa. The
I'll just call him Bon.
local, what would you say, local bully? Or,
Yeah.
or the local, I'm better than you and you suck.
Local smartass. Yeah. The rich kid.
Yeah. And they're talking about the hover bike because apparently there's a race going on. And they need a new power converter for the bike because the bike is, kaput. So they bring the bike to KB's garage. They're doing whatever they need to do. And, yeah. Fern gets home to a luxurious looking house.
Top of the hill.
Top of the hill.
End of the road, right there at the roundabout.
Yeah. On the dead end street. We've all seen that.
House.
We've all seen it. We've all seen houses like that. This is why it's so down to earth right now.
Right.
So down to earth right now. And when she walks into the house, she's met by a silver and blue servant droid. And the droid's like, oh, where were you? You weren't upstairs? No, I was upstairs studying. No, you weren't. The droid cannot lie. Which is true.
But there's a loophole.
But there is a loophole, yes. There is a loophole. Fern initiates a memory override and says, you saw me upstairs.
It was upstairs studying.
Yep. But it just so happens that Fern is the daughter of Undersecretary Farah, who was just previously at the school talking about those exams. Gotta love it.
Amazing how that works, isn't it?
You know, it's even more amazing when the undersecretary passes Fern a school badge, which she dropped, and she goes, got it back for you.
How did you get that?
Yeah, did you notice she was acting surprised or uninterested, you know?
I don't think she even realized that she dropped her badge.
It's possible.
You know? But it's like, well, how did you get it? Well, I had to stop by your school today.
Yeah, I stopped by your school. Here you go. Got you no one.
How coincidental.
Yeah. It's crazy. In the meantime, it's getting closer to nighttime, and Wim is now in his room studying the data pad in his room. His father returns, and they start talking and quizzing and doing mathematical equations, and he doesn't get it right, but he's almost there. And even his father's like, you were so close. It's this. So close. A little bit more work on it, and you'll do great.
Right.
So even though his father's not really in the picture due to work, he's still very much of, dude, you got this, man. You can do it. I'm proud of you. I've got your back, you know?
Very encouraging as a parent.
Yeah, it doesn't really show it, but does express it. Yeah. So Wim says to his dad, can you read me a story? Can you read me a book?
Like mom used to do.
Just like mom used to do. And he says no. He says no.
See, I liked him up to this point.
Yeah,
I
agreed.
liked the dad up to this point. But what he says next pissed me off.
Yep, go for it.
Don't you think you're a little too old for stories?
Now, I'm so glad you said those words, because when that came on screen and he said that, my wife flat out said, you are never too old for stories at bedtime.
Thank you. I said the same damn thing. I'm 50 freaking 5 years old.
Yeah.
And I would love for somebody to read me a freaking story.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know?
So he goes on to read a story about a Jedi fighting a monster. And we see the, camera kind of do it's night. You see the night sky. You see some stars, red lights.
The grid.
Yes, the grid. That was an interesting. I think that's more, not just a grid, but I think it's more of a shield.
Protective shield.
Yeah, like a protective shield to ward off, pirates or anything like that. You don't want anybody attacking that planet. It's a nice, peaceful planet.
Well, I think it also sets the atmosphere.
Yes. Then the adventure begins.
Oops.
And we're going to sum up the adventure pretty quickly because Wim wakes up late and is running down the street to get the bus. Neil is on the bus, looking out the back window, going, "Come on, come on.
You can make it."
But nobody's stopping the bus. And part of the reason is because the RX droid is driving the bus and is programmed to bring that bus to and from a certain spot at a certain time.
Mm-hmm.
So for Wim, he decides, okay, I got to get to school. I'm going to grab my hover bike and I'm going to try and get to school as fast as I can, but I'm going to take a shortcut because I saw the girls take a shortcut the day before.
And they beat us to school.
And they beat us to school. You ever see one of those movies where anything and everything happens to one person right after another?
No, never seen a movie like that.
Never? Not one?
No.
Are you sure?
I'm 100% full of shit.
You are full of shit. Because, let's face it, Trains, Planes, and Automobiles is that such a movie? Which is a great movie, by the way, and I highly recommend everybody should watch it. Now, basically, that's what happens next. From crashing into branches, falling off the bike, getting back on, you name it, this kid went through hell and back just to try to get to school to take the test.
He was on his way back.
Yeah, well, true.
We almost drove over a cliff.
To the point where, yes, he almost falls over a cliff, gets off the bike, falls down into a ravine. And he's trying to climb out. He's calling for help. A bat-like creature flies above him. That kind of freaks him out a little bit. And then, of course, he's trying to climb up and he can't because things are breaking and he's falling back down. This is where he finds something embedded in the ravine wall. And it turns out after he cleans it, it's a hatch. But before he can get any further, a droid shows up and says that he is in breach of protocol. Safety protocol, right? I believe he said. And
School attendance.
Well, yes, school attendance and safety protocols. And Wim says, "Yeah, I know. Help."
He says, George's like, you must come with me. Okay. How? I'm kind of stuck in a freaking ditch, you know?
How do I get out of here? Which, I mean, it happens. It does.
All the time.
It happens in any type of TV show like that, So from there, now we see him outside the principal's office, or it was the proctor's office.
Yes.
And while he's out there, we see Fern, who is also in trouble. And Fern's like, what are you in for?
Yeah, that was.
It was just one of those, here I am in prison.
One of the cheesiest lines in the episode.
Which was,
what are you in for?
yeah. So what are you in for? And he admits, he missed the test. And he goes, your bike is wizard, by the way. Saw that. And she's like, yeah, well, last kid who failed to take the test is working in the mines now, never to be seen again. And he's like, what?
Yeah, that was a nice little tale that she told.
Really was. It really was. And then, of course, Wendell comes out of the proctor's office. Whew. Boy, was that boy in trouble.
Mm-hmm. Not happy. Not happy at all.
And to the fact that apparently the way these career assessment tests work, if you miss the test, it's a 50-point penalty.
Ouch.
Which means in order to pass, you now have to get every single answer right.
Yeah.
Then, of course, his father says, you need to stop this Jedi nonsense. You need to stop this adventure shit. You got to work on your studies, and I will be taking you to school the next morning, no matter what. So you can't be late. I now have to go to work because I'm in trouble now because of you. Yeah.
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 Not happy.
It's, yeah. But again, reminds you of your classic 80s TV shows.
Reminds me of my life.
JT's probably going to have post-traumatic stress after this series.
I already have it. It'll just be one level higher.
Just this episode alone, you're like, God damn it. Son of a bitch. How dare he? So now, since we already know, and, Fern and Wim have spoken, they talked about everything that they've seen and how, the conversation with Wendell was that he had found something in the ravine when he was stuck there and couldn't get out.
Right. And
Fern says to him, did you encounter a Jedi temple in the woods? And Wim's like,
no, I was lying.
Wim's like, no.
Yeah.
No idea what you're talking about. See you later. Bye. And that's when she's like, all right, well, this is going to be interesting. And as we go on, Wim heads over to Neil's house. And we can see Neil has, younger siblings. They're watching a hologram. Kind of reminds me of the hologram game that they play on the Millennium Falcon, that chess game. But in this case, they were watching like a circus show.
Yep.
Mother brings them snacks, and looking through the window, he's like, "Hi. Where's Neil?" And the little sister just does this, points upstairs. So Wim climbs up the house. And when he gets to the window, he sees Neil in the bath, bathing in a pool, but it was really a bath.
A bubble bath.
Hey, listen, even different species...
Not saying nothing bad about a bubble bath now.
Different species need to relax too. And you know what?
Hey,
that boy needed to relax after a long test day.
Right. And like I said, nothing wrong with a bubble bath. I would love a bubble bath.
No. So Wim says, "Hey, Neil, where does your dad keep your tools?" In the garage. Come on, let's go. And that's when Neil starts talking about, adults and safety droids, and they're like, "Listen," Wim's just not hearing it. He goes, "Dude, you have to come with me. This is something cool. I want to share it with you. Let's go on an adventure."
Yeah.
Where have I heard that before?
No idea.
No freaking clue.
Never heard anything like that before in my life.
Are you sure?
No.
Not one show, not one movie?
No, never. I'm, again, full of shit.
All right.
Just saying,
So the two go on this adventure and they go back to the ravine.
The weird thing to me about this scene,
Yeah,
is why are they walking their bikes?
so I'm going to think that the reason that they stopped their hover bikes to walk was because of the ground that they were going over, all the rocks and the trees, and they wanted to make sure that they didn't break their bikes like Wim already did earlier in the day.
But he didn't break his bike. He didn't have any trouble going over the rocks and that kind of thing. And if they take it slower,
Yeah,
they would have been fine.
sure.
And Wim knows that the drop off is coming, so they could slow down way ahead of time.
Right, but it was also getting dark, so
No, not yet.
well,
It's still broad daylight out.
well, it was daylight, but it was starting to get dark because it's after school.
It was just weird to me that they were walking.
Yeah, well, I mean, why were the boys in the Goonies walking their bikes up a hill to get to the restaurant? Same thing.
Because their fat friend wasn't able to ride it up the hill.
They were climbing up a bluff.
So they were being nice and just walking up so their buddy could stay with them.
Now, this entire time on the adventure, Neil's telling him, "Hey, you really should be studying, man."
Mm.
And Wim's like, "I can do it later. But then he gives Neil a rope.
Famous last words of a fool.
Always. Gives Neil a rope and says, "All right, we got to go down. I need you to hold this while I climb down, and then you'll be fine. You can come down afterward."
Right.
And
this way we'll have a way to get out.
Yeah. And that doesn't work because Neil goes flying down the ravine with him.
Yeah.
And
you can obviously tell that he has no spelunking experience whatsoever.
None whatsoever. None. Well, as they get down to the ravine, they see, the hatch that they saw, that Wim saw earlier. And Neil's like, "Nah, this is just garbage. It's junk." Then he goes, "Well, wait a minute. Why don't we just check it out?" And that's when he notices that somebody was there before them.
Right.
Because more of the hatch was revealed. And you hear a cybernetic voice mimicking a droid. And Wim is like, "Who's that? What's going on? Run, hide, duck and cover," that whole thing. And the voice now starts chastising them for safety boundaries. And Wim's like, "Wait a minute. Who's that?" And that's when they admit they had a crush on Runa. And the voice starts laughing. Because shortly later, it's revealed that it's KB. And says, "I'm sorry, but Fern put me up to it." And there's Fern. So now our party of 2 has now become a party of 4. And at the same time, now they're going and saying, finders keepers, that whole thing. I found it first. It's my claim, so on and so forth. And Fern's like, no, keepsies. that was a whole interesting thing. But again, finders keepers. And they get to the point where not only are they arguing, but the girls decide to kind of flip it, make the boys employees, and to do the digging. Mm-hmm. But Fern's also like, listen, that's not a hatch to the Jedi Temple. There is no Jedi Temple here. It's just a hatch. But then she goes into a little bit of the history of the development that they're in and how it was supposed to be all new buildings that were going to be installed here and built and all that.
A new residential area.
Yeah, it was a whole new thing. And they didn't. But she also thought that this hatch that they were going and looking at was part of the sewer station. And that it could be potentially abandoned and contaminated. But they're like, yeah, right. Then Wim goes, wait, what if somebody's buried inside the hatch? We should check it out. So Fern takes the shovel, strikes the hatch. Nothing happens. It scares them. Scares the boys anyway while they're, digging. And they get to the point where they find a panel so KB can kind of tap into it. And she does. She links her, would you call them cybernetic enhancements?
In her glasses, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if those are attached to her head or not, though.
I think they are. Because when she attached the cable and everything, it didn't move.
Yeah. And I'm thinking...
And, with the visor, she just reaches up and she pushes. I do think that it's embedded.
Yeah, I think so, too. Because it reminds me of Lobot from Empire Strikes Back, where he's got that visor on the back of his head that's linked cybernetically to the computer system of Bespin, of the Cloud City. So I'm thinking it's along those lines.
Right.
So once they open up the hatch, they look inside and they're like, all right, everybody be quiet. Something's not right. So instead they go in. They start exploring.
Well, they got scared.
Yes.
Because they heard somebody yelling.
Yes.
And they were thinking, maybe it was like a police droid or something like that. So,
right.
They grab all their stuff because they had a big spotlight out and he had his bag and all this. They grab everything and they go inside.
Yep.
Trying to hide.
Yep. Absolutely. And they do. They hide. But then they start exploring the hatch. Now, the thing that KB and Fern were looking for was a power converter because they needed a new power converter for her Fern's hover bike.
Yes.
And as they're going, Wim's like, listen, we got to go this way. And everybody else is like, no, we got to go down here. We're looking for a power converter. It's down here.
Well, they were following the cable because they needed power.
Yes.
Because the doors closed on them.
Kind of like Jurassic Park.
They needed power so that they could get the door back open.
Yep. Kind of like Jurassic Park. You're going to follow the cabling.
And he's like, if we follow this conduit, maybe it will lead us to the power source.
Yes. And that's when Fern is now teasing Wim about being in trouble, disobeying his dad's orders, and he's like, no, I'm on this adventure. I'm not quitting. I'm going to see this through. And as they continue to go down, he goes off on his own.
We need to go up, not down.
Yep, need to go up. And that's where Wim discovers a droid that is just sitting there, completely devoid of life, missing an eye. But originally he's like, it's a skeleton, Not true. It's just a droid. However, a rodent scares them all, and Neil moves back, pulls the lever, and now the kids are 100% trapped inside, and it's going to get worse. Because as Wim moves on, everybody else is going through secret passages. Wim's like, no, the Jedi Temple had so many different passages. They were secret passages. You could get in and out in many different ways. There's definitely another way out. Well, the other three find what looks like a power converter. And KB decides, I'm going to hit it.
Don't touch anything. But there's a flashing green light here.
Not only does she hit it, but it causes the entire ship to just start turning on. All systems go. Lights, doors closing, you name it. It's rocking. Wim finds that he's in the cockpit, and he's like, don't touch anything. Nobody touch a thing. And yeah, the starship starts up.
I
Because
love the sequence that led up to
yes, please.
him hitting her. They're talking on the mic, the walkie-talkie. Don't touch anything.
Yep.
Okay, I won't. And he sees the light.
I want to push this button.
Flashing, and he's like, "Oh no, I can't. I can't do it. I can't do it. Yeah, screw it." Beep.
Hits the button. Well, that starts making the ship move. Not only does it move, but everything's powered up. So now they're racing to get out of there. They can hear somebody yelling. And it turns out it's Wim's father, Wendell, searching for them because Wim wasn't home studying. And Wendell starts seeing this thing come up out of the ground, and he sees all four kids at the hatch, which is open. Wim starts to fall out, and they grab him and pull him in, and the doors close.
Where have we seen that scene before?
What? Where have you seen that?
Where have we seen that scene before?
I mean, there's some. There's some. There's some. So now as the ship is coming up, the ground is shaking. Obviously, the ship is in the air. And now you're like, what happens now? We see Wendell watching in disbelief that his kid is up on the spaceship now. And then the engines tilt. And
that
the
was
ship
cool.
takes off.
That was cool.
Not only was that cool, but it also set fire to the trees.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you got giant freaking rockets.
I mean, boom. So,
well, and what I thought was cool was the ship was upside down.
Yes, it started upside down.
And it righted itself.
Yep.
All on its own, and everything. And I'm just sitting here watching this going, now that's cool as fuck.
Yeah. Well, from there, they are now in space. They're heading towards the barrier. The kids are now in the cockpit, and they're trying to figure out what's going on. And they're like, push any button you can. Let's get us down.
Autopilot. They were looking for an autopilot.
Autopilot, yep. Turn the autopilot off so we can get it down, and they didn't find it. But then, as they're going through some nebulas, you can see in space and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And they're looking out the front of the ship going, ooh, ah. until hyperspace kicks in.
Right.
And then they
Well,
start screaming.
The weird thing to me was that they had never seen stars.
Well, no, because they've got the barrier.
But you would still think that they would, because it wasn't solid.
Well,
You know, it kind of looked like the Northern Lights kind of thing, you know.
yeah,
But you would think they would still be able to see stars.
but
Because they didn't know what they were. Wim said that they were planets.
yes,
I'm like, come on, Wim. You're better than that.
yeah, but at the same time, you know, they've never seen it from where they are in a ship. You know, because you have the barrier, you have all these nebulas and clouds and everything. So for them, it's a little like, holy shit, we're in space. You know? Now that they're in hyperspace, that's making things even worse because that's where the episode ends.
Yeah. That's okay. Perfect ending. Just ship gone.
Ah, gone. and the best part is all you see is when they go into hyperspace and they disappear, all you see is the stars. It took a while for the credits to come on.
Yeah, I thought it was funny how as it's powering up to go into hyperspace, you know how the stars start do the streak.
Yep.
They flashed around and showed all 4 kids.
Shoom, gone.
I love that.
So for me, because I know I started second on the last one, I can tell you this is a completely different side of Star Wars that I've ever seen. And I loved it. It really was, for me, Goonies in Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the Goonies. So we know there's a lot more to go because episode 2 did come out at the same night, but we're going to review that on Monday.
Right. So how many lightsabers do you give this episode?
Well, see, I wasn't going to go with lightsabers because there's no Jedi.
What were you going to go with?
I was going to go with the Republic symbol or the Jedi symbol.
Let's do hover bikes.
Hover bikes. Okay. I'm good with hover bikes. So for me, with this episode, I'm actually going to give it a 4. I loved it. It was a completely different side of Star Wars, and I was hooked.
Mm-hmm.
Hooked from the beginning with the pirates, and I'm still hooked to the end.
Yeah.
So,
and the amazing thing is, you've still only watched episode 1. You haven't watched episode 2.
No, I'm going to be watching that as soon as we're done.
So, you know, you have no extended knowledge of what goes on beyond this.
Nope, not yet anyway.
So that I like the fact that we're actually, because I know before you would watch, you know, 3 episode premiere, you'd watch all 3.
Yep. Yep.
You know, so okay, 4 hover bikes for you.
4 hover bikes for me. What are you giving it?
Well, I tell you, man, I truly identified with Wim in this episode. I felt like Wim was me if I was his age in that time. Every decision he made, everything that he did, I would have done.
Oh, yeah, hands down.
I was predicting what he was going to do before he did it.
He's going to have some fun with this one.
Just because of the fact that it's what I would have done.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that being able to identify with the character that closely, I've never had that. Never had that with any show that I've watched, be it TV or movie. So that instantly pulled me in, and it pulled me in more and more as the episode went along.
Nice.
The storyline is, like you said, completely and totally outside the realm of anything that Star Wars has done to date.
It's true.
And it's great. Kay is very, very interested
Nice.
in this show.
I like it.
So for me, I'm going to go with 4.5 hover bikes.
Wow. Beating me on the first episode. I like it.
That's how much this pulled me in. The storyline, the group of, I love the group of kids.
Yeah.
The group of kids and the different personalities that each one has, how they play off of each other. And I was reading a thing because right now, Skeleton Crew is the highest rated Star Wars series out there
Oh, nice.
right now, which tells you a lot.
That does
they
tell
were
you a
really
lot.
worried because they don't have any mainstream stars that are playing in this.
Well, not in
A lot of
yet,
sub
anyway.
characters, but nobody that's hey, this guy's in here, I gotta watch this.
Yeah, not yet anyway.
Which they were worried about. According to the article that I read, they were worried about that. They were worried that nobody would, not as many people would watch this because it didn't have that.
Okay. All right.
So the reaction that they've gotten from the first 2 episodes so far, they're online, and I think they are. I think they've nailed. If they keep doing what they're doing, which they have consistently with the other series, they're going to have a hell of a show on their hands.
So just to paint a picture before we go off and leave you all for Monday, okay? Producers: John Watts and Chris Ford, because they're the creators.
Mm-hmm.
Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni. Then, of course, you have Kathleen Kennedy and Colin Wilson.
Right.
The Acolyte, which we've had our share with The Acolyte.
Mm-hmm. We reviewed it.
Okay. Executive producers: Leslie Headland, who also is the creator, Kathleen Kennedy, Simon Emanuel, Jeff King, Jason Micallef, Cor Adana, and Charmaine DeGrate. Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau do not have their hands on The Acolyte. But what I've been saying for a very long time, Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, they're the ones you want.
Yeah.
They're the ones you want to carry this into the next generation for Star Wars. What they touch works.
So far, the ones that they've done have been amazing.
Mandalorian alone, I mean, you're going to get a new movie. Mandalorian and Grogu coming out in 2026. I can't believe we got to wait that long, but yeah. And Jon Favreau is directing it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, like I said, if they stay on what they did episode 1 with.
Yep.
This is going to be a great series.
Absolutely. And I can't wait for episode 2. So that, my friends, is the end of this week's 2 Ewoks in the Park. We went a little longer because, the episode was almost an hour long.
Yep.
But it was great.
Mm-hmm.
I loved it. It was fantastic. But we'll be back live next Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern for episode 2 of Skeleton Crew. And then next Tuesday for the Sully Show.
Yep.
So, might want to ring the bell to be notified when we go live, because we're fun and we have a great time. For the redneck, there he is. Say goodbye, JT.
Goodbye, JT.
I hope you have a wonderful week, everybody. And we will see you next Monday And don't forget, come and hang out in our Discord channel. I got to make a 2 Ewoks in the Park channel.
Yep.
We got Avenger Pretenders. I got to make a 2 Ewoks in the Park so we could talk Star Wars with everybody. It'd be great. At least I think it'd be great. No spoilers in there until show day. But yeah. And unlike the Avengers, I will say that is the end of the show for this week. We'll see you next week. And may the Force be with you. May the Force be with you.